Hello, good afternoon, dear students. Today we are moving on to a new chapter, that is biodiversity and conservation. After that, we'll be having two lengthier chapters. One is principles of inheritance and variation, the other one is molecular basis of inheritance. So before moving on to that lengthier chapters, we'll finish all the other chapters. That is why today we will discuss about a new chapter, that is biodiversity and conservation. That is the last chapter in zoology. Biodiversity and conservation. So let me take the screen sharing. Today I am recording the video in Zoom app. Okay. What is the name of this chapter? It is biodiversity, biodiversity and conservation. Biodiversity and conservation. First thing is, what do you mean by biodiversity? What is biodiversity? Bio means life, no. Bio means life, and diversity, differences. Diversity means differences. Diversity, that means difference, differences. So the term biodiversity can be defined as the occurrence of, it is the occurrence of different types of various or different types of genes, gene pools. Gene pool means it is a total of all the genes of all the organisms. Total genomic count or total genome count. Total genomic or total genome count of all the organisms living in a specific locality. And species as well as habitats and ecosystem. So the biodiversity can be defined as a occurrence of different types of genes, gene pool, species, habitats, and ecosystem. Habitat is a living environment. It is a living area, living place of a living organism, of an organism. So biodiversity means it is a occurrence of different types of a variety of organisms are present in the entire universe. We can see there are millions and millions of varieties of species and organisms are present in our universe, are existing in our universe. So these different varieties of organisms consist of different numbers of genes, and that is various species of organisms consist of varying number of genes, varying number of chromosomes or varying number of genes. And these different species of organisms lives in the different species of organism lives in different habitats, and all the varying species of organisms lives in different ecosystem. That is, various types of ecosystem are there. Water ecosystem, that is aquatic ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem or land ecosystem, desert ecosystem, desert, that is land only, desert ecosystem, then forest ecosystem. So these are different ecosystems in our environment. Ecosystem means it is a habitat. It is a place of the environment with different conditions, different climatic conditions, or different varieties of plant species or animal species. So the forest ecosystem is a particular type of ecosystem with the wild animals and different types of trees, different layers. Stratification of forest is there. When it comes to desert ecosystem, we all know what is a desert. So the organisms lives in a desert ecosystem may be different from the organisms that are present in forest ecosystem. And the organisms which are living, as well as the plants as well as organisms which are living in water ecosystem, maybe it is different from the organisms that lives in a terrestrial environment. Or grass ecosystem is there, so various types of ecosystems are there. Various ecosystem consist of different habitats. Habitat means the living place of an organism, the living area of an organism where the organism lives. That is a habitat of an organism. And the organisms, different species of organisms consist of different numbers of genes, no? Different numbers of genes, as well as the all together, all the genes of all the organisms which lives in a specific area is known as a gene pool. So this is biodiversity. It is the occurrence of varying types of organisms with their different habitats. So that is biodiversity. In this chapter, we are going to study about the importance of biodiversity, and how the biodiversity is conserving, how biodiversity can be conserved. Biodiversity is actually, it is very much important for the sustaining life, for the survival of all the organism. Biodiversity is very much important. And the term biodiversity, biodiversity was given by, the term biodiversity was given by a sociobiologist. It's not a pure biologist. It is given by a sociobiologist, and his name is Edward Wilson. Edward Wilson is a biologist, is a sociobiologist, is a scientist who discovered or who coined the term biodiversity. The term biodiversity was coined by Edward Wilson, the sociobiologist. To describe, for what? To describe the combined diversity at all levels of biological organization. That is biodiversity. The term is coined by this scientist for what? That is to describe the combined diversity, to describe the combined diversity at all the levels of biological at all the levels of biological organization. So to describe all the organisms in every levels of ecosystem, the biodiversity is very much important. The study and awareness about the diversity of organism is very important. And the biodiversity is a term that describes a combined diversity. It describes a all total diversity at all the levels of biological organization. There are millions and trillions of species. About 20,000 species of ants are there, and yet to be discovered. Many species of ants are yet to be discovered. Like that, birds, different types of birds are there. Different species of birds, animals, plants. wild animals, different species of organisms. Whatever phylum we are taking, different species of organisms are there as well as plants. And biodiversity can be divided into three levels. Biodiversity can be classified into three levels. So here division or classification of biodiversity. Biodiversity classification, how this, what are the classes or divisions of biodiversity? It can be divided into three levels. Three levels of classifications are there for biodiversity. First one is genetic diversity. It is genetic diversity. Genetic diversity, that means it describes the diversity or differences of organisms, differences among organisms at the genetic level or at the gene level, molecular level, at the genetic level. That is genetic diversity. It describes genetic diversity, describes the differences or diversity among organisms. I will write it here. It describes the differences or differences among organisms, differences among organisms at the genetic level. That is at the genetic level. It enables a population to adapt to the environment. Genetic diversity, that is at the level of gene, at the very basic level, that is the level of genes or chromosomes. All those are these exhibit some diversity, and this diversity, this difference at the genetic level enables the population to adapt, enables the organism to adapt to its environment, to its environment. This genetic diversity or the differences among organisms at the genetic level always helps the organism to adapt to its environment. Okay. So, for example, genetic variation in case of a medicinal plant, Rauwolfia serpentina, Rauwolfia serpentina or Rauwolfia vomitoria, one another species, vomitoria, Rauwolfia serpentina, that is in Malayalam it is known as Sarpagandhi. So this is a what medicinal plant. It is growing in different Himalayan ranges because of the concentration, that is from this medicinal plant we get a chemical which is known as reserpine from vomitoria as well as from Rauwolfia serpentina. Both plants comes under the same genera but different species. This Rauwolfia vomitoria is growing in different areas of Himalaya. Okay, and they might have a very good potency or very good concentration of this particular chemical, the reserpine chemical. It is used for various sorts of breathing difficulties as well as various sorts of arthritis and allergy. So many so many diseases can be cured by this chemical reserpine. Okay, and that is the first one. First level is genetic level, genetic diversity, and the second level of classification of biodiversity is the species diversity. The second level is species diversity. Species diversity. Species diversity means it is at the species level. At the species level. Differences among individuals or organisms. Species diversity means it shows the differences. It shows the differences among organisms. It shows the species diversity shows the differences among organisms at species level. Differences among organisms at a species level. Say, for example, the Western Ghats of Western Himalayan ranges or the Western Ghats have a greater amphibian species diversity. Greater which species? Amphibian diversity, greater amphibian diversity. Western Ghats of Himalaya, western region consist of, or Western Ghats consist of a greater variety of amphibian species than the Eastern Ghats, than the eastern area or eastern region. In western region, we can see a greater variety of amphibian diversity than the Eastern Ghats. So the second level of biodiversity is species diversity. That is the differences among organisms at species level. It is the differences among organisms at a species level. That is species diversity. Example, Western Ghats and amphibians. Amphibians in Western Ghats. Okay, and the third level of diversity is ecological diversity. Ecological diversity. And what do you mean by ecological diversity? It is a diversity at the ecosystem level, where the organisms are living, in which place they are living, in ecosystem level. It is a diversity in ecosystem level. That means ecosystem level diversity differences means desert ecosystem is there, rainforest ecosystem is there, mangroves are there. For example, in India itself, there are different types of ecosystems are there. Deserts are there in our country, rainforests are there in our country, rainforests, mangroves are there, mangroves, coral reefs are there, no? Coral reefs are there. Wetland resources or ecosystem is there. Wetland ecosystem is there. So many different types of ecosystem. Greater diversity in ecosystem itself is present in our country itself. Then you just imagine the entire world. How many different types of ecosystem are there? Grass ecosystem. In our country also there is aquatic ecosystem is there. Land ecosystem is there. Forest ecosystem is there. So different levels of ecosystem or different types of ecosystem are there. Differences in ecosystem. And we can see camel in deserts, but we cannot see camel in where rainforest, or we cannot see camel in coral reefs. We can see shark in aquatic ecosystem, but we cannot see shark in freshwater ecosystem. That means we can see shark in aquatic marine ecosystem, marine, salt water. But we cannot see the same shark in a freshwater ecosystem. But both are marine ecosystem as well as freshwater. Both are aquatic ecosystem. Difference is there. Yes, we can see elephant or tiger in a forest ecosystem, but we cannot see a tiger in a grassland ecosystem. Isn't it? So that is the difference. We can see starfish in or corals in coral reefs, but we cannot see starfish in or corals in grassland ecosystem or in rainforest or in mangroves. Like that, the difference is going. So our universe is it consists of a diversity. It consists of diverse, different species of organisms, plants, as well as different ecosystems are also there. That is biodiversity. Okay. Now we can see biodiversity in India. You can read out that biodiversity in India. When it comes to India, about for 45,000 species of plants and many animals are present in our country itself. And when it comes to the classification of organisms in a pie chart, you can see in your textbook also it is there, some pie charts like this: invertebrates, that is invertebrates, how many invertebrates are there, what are the different, the largest phylum. The largest phylum is, what is the largest phylum? It is the phylum Arthropoda, that is insects. Insects. Phylum Arthropoda. Insects, no? Phylum Arthropoda. And then the second largest phylum. Second largest phylum, I will represent it in some another color. The second largest phylum is phylum Mollusca. Phylum Mollusca. And then comes the crustaceans. Then comes crustaceans like this. Crustaceans. Then this is another, what, other animal groups, all the other animals, other animal groups. Okay, so that is a pie chart about invertebrates. And when it comes to vertebrates, a pie chart like this, a pie diagram showing vertebrates, means here we can see most of the population of vertebrates are fishes. And fishes, then comes the mammals here, mammals, birds, and reptiles, and very small amphibians. So this is a pie chart for vertebrates, which shows uh, the number of organisms that lives in this universe or in this planet, like that. And when it comes to plants, if we are giving a pie diagram for plants, we can see that these are angiosperms, flowering plants, angiosperms, flowering plants. Then comes the, here, ferns, then forms the mosses. Do you remember uh, that you have studied in your botany, ferns, what are ferns and what are mosses and all? Okay. And here, somewhere here, no, lichens. Then comes algae, isn't it? Is it like so? No, this is fungi. So this is a pie diagram showing plants, plant species. Okay, my dear students. And now that diagram is very important. Just have a look in your textbook. And we can see the patterns of biodiversity. Next important point is patterns. Patterns of biodiversity. Patterns of biodiversity. Patterns of biodiversity. Okay, dear students. So now we will discuss about the patterns of biodiversity. Uh, Patterns of biodiversity. Let me share the screen again, because there was a connection problem in between. Yes, this is now we are going to see the patterns of biodiversity. And here the patterns of biodiversity indicates that biodiversity is not uniform throughout the world. Hmm? Patterns of biodiversity is an indication that the biodiversity is not uniform. Biodiversity is not uniform. That is, it have different patterns. Huh? Biodiversity is not uniform. It is not uniform throughout the world. It is not uniform. Biodiversity is not uniform throughout the world. Throughout the world. Why is it so? Why it is not uniform throughout the world? What is the reason? Because there are some reasons. Because it is affected by, the biodiversity is affected by latitudinal some gradients, like gratitudinal latitudinal gradients. It is it is affected by, the biodiversity is affected by latitudinal gradients. Latitudinal gradients is there, as well as then species differences is there, longitudinal gradients is there, species area relationship. It is because of species, it is affected by species area relationships. It is affected by, the biodiversity is affected by species area, where the species are living, that is species area relationship. It is affected by the species, as well as where it is living, that is also affecting the biodiversity. So biodiversity is not uniform throughout the world. It is not uniform throughout the world. Why? Because it is affected by some latitudinal gradients, and as well as species area relationship. These two are very important, latitudinal gradients and the species area relationship. Now we will see what you mean by what is. Now we will see what is meant by latitudinal gradients. Now we can see what is latitudinal gradients. What is latitudinal gradients? Latitudinal gradients describes, or it demonstrates the decrease in species diversity. It demonstrates the reduction or decrease. It represents the reduction in species diversity, reduction in species diversity when we move away from the, far away, when we move away from the equator to the poles. When we move away from the equator, to the poles. Okay, suppose this is our earth, and this is the equator, and here we are located here, no? Okay. And suppose, imagine why this, how this latitudinal gradients affects the biodiversity. That is, the diversity shows a decrease or reduction in species diversity when we move away from the equator to the poles. If we are moving to the poles, polar area, the diversity may be very less than the equator, because in the equator area of the earth we can see many different varieties of organisms. Various types of organisms are present, various types of plant species as well as animal species. Everything, it is different varieties of species can be observed in the equator, but if we are moving to a region, a polar area, suppose if we are moving to the pole Antarctica, Antarctica, what happens? We can see some polar bears only. There will be some polar bears, no? No, the animals, polar bears as well as penguins. No other animals like a cat or dog or tiger or camel or something like that. We cannot see deer or what to say, all the other, our cow, so that like this organism. So a variety of organisms or a diversity of organisms can be seen in only in equator. But when we move away from the equator to the poles, from the equator, if we are moving to the polar area or to the poles, some special or some specific organisms, we can see only some specific organisms in the polar area, poles, polar area, isn't it? Is it so? Is it like that? No. So that is latitudinal gradients. That is because of the temperature. That may be various conditions, because of some climatic conditions like temperature, food availability, availability of food, as well as water, and the various climatic conditions, as well as habitat, and the habitat, the living place, habitat of the organism, and also competition among organisms. All these may affect. Okay, so the variety, the species richness, or we can say the species diversity gets reduced. It may get reduced or diminished or lessened when come to the poles, when come to the polar area, poles, from the equator, Okay, so that is latitudinal gradients. And so many numbers are also there in your textbook. Just read it. And if you want, you can study, but the questions will not be come from this topic as descriptive question. But some short answer type of questions you can expect. You can expect it. Some short answer type of questions from this topic. Okay. It depends on various natural conditions like light, solar energy or light, as well as temperature, rainfall, the availability of rain, water, climatic condition, the fertility of the soil or the texture of the soil. All these comes under the latitudinal gradients. Okay. Now we will see what is species richness, species area relationship, species area relationship, species area relationship, species area relationship. This according to a scientist, that is his name is Alexander von Humboldt. Alexander von Humboldt. Alexander von Humboldt was an ecologist, and there is a scholarship also there in his name. Alexander von Humboldt is a German naturalist, an ecologist. Okay, he observed that within a region, species richness increased with the increasing explored area. Okay, within a region, suppose this is region A, species richness is increased in a particular area by the exploration of that area. What do you mean by that? Some organisms from some other area, suppose this is area B, some organisms will migrate from area B to area A, and this migrating organism will explore the resources, in area A. If it is favorable for them, if all these resources are favorable, they will constantly live there. They will choose that area to live and flourish. Okay, so according to the area where the organisms are living, there we can there we can find the richness of the survived species there, isn't it? Suppose imagine if you are transferring, if you are going from Anita Vidyalaya, from our school to some other school. You are moving from our school to some other school, no? Here you are moving to a different school. Huh? The school consists of so many in other facilities when compared with Anida Vidyalaya, and you will be liking. Sometimes some of you may like this school. You may like it. Then you want to stay there itself. Hmm? Like that, or else if you can say you are moving from you are going to abroad or America, then from India you are going to America, and when you reach there you find the life was very pretty good there, you can enjoy a lot in America, like that. Then you will be trying to settle down there itself, to settle there itself, America, by exploring the resources over there. Like that, if the species are migrating from any place to some another places, and if they can survive that particular new area, that all the species will try to live there. That is species area relationship. It is species area relationship. And there is a relationship between the species diversity or species richness, and with regard to the area where they are living. That phenomenon is observed by Alexander von Humboldt, an ecologist or geographer. Okay, that is the relationship between species richness and the area for a wide variety of organisms or taxa. And if we are drawing a graph about that, we'll get an hyperbola like this. Here, species richness, how the species are developing or growing or flourishing there, species richness, and this is area. Okay, how much the species can survive in a particular area with relate to the conditions of this area, that is the altogether the area, that is how much the space, how much is the width of the space, how much environment is there, or what type of climate is there. If everything is favorable to that species which is coming to that particular area, all the species will try to flourish there. Okay, that is species area relationship, species area richness, or species area relationship. And a logarithmic scale is also presented in your textbook, but that is not needed. Only this much you should understand. Okay, that is species richness is always directly proportional to the area, the richness or the favorable conditions of the area in which they live. That is species area relationship. And next one is the importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. How the diversity of species is important to the ecosystem. Importance of species diversity. Importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. How much the species diversity is important to our ecosystem. Okay, so according to many ecologists, the communities with more species, if there is more species are there in a community, the community with more species will be more stable, more species, more stable community. More species, more stable community. That means I can explain it in a diagram. That means if suppose this is a community and here more more varieties of species are here. Different organisms are present here in this particular community, and so many organisms. I will use many colors. Okay, so different diversity of organism are living in this particular community, and we are taking some another community here. It consists of only a less number of species, very less number of species. Say these 2 or 3 different species are only present here. Only this much species are present here. Only this much species. And these species, the number of species increases. Number of species is very high, but only one species is this one, and one another species. What is that? This one is another species, and here this is some another species. So this community is with only 3 different types of species. But here there are different types of species. Many types of organisms are there. Suppose some organisms, say for example, the organisms with this purple color, this purple colored organisms. All these organisms are migrating, or all these organisms are destroyed or destructed or damaged, or something happened to these organisms. Imagine, suppose, what will happen to this community? Nothing is going to happen in this community, because this is more stable because it has many other varieties of species to maintain the balance of that particular community. Okay, suppose here, imagine the number of species in this community is 10 different species of organisms are living in this particular community, and only one species is destructed or destroyed. The remaining 9 species are there. So there nothing will happen to this community. But when come to this community, only 3 species are living here. Only 3 species are living here, and one species get destructed or eliminated or died or something happened or migrated. What happened? The remaining is 2 only. Which one was more stable, 2 or 9? 9 is more stable. It is more stronger. 10 individuals are going for a strike. 10 students are not students. 10 individuals are going for a strike. By the afternoon, strike by morning, and by 10 individuals are going for a strike in the morning. By afternoon, one individual left. One left. 9 is remaining. It is strong. But imagine here, 3 individuals are going for a strike in the morning. 3 are going. By the afternoon, 1 left. The remaining 2. When compared with this, which one is more stable or more strong? 9 members, 9 individuals. This group is more stable. This is less power. This is not that powerful. This is less powerful. No. Like that, it is the more species. If there is the more species, more number of species, that community will be more stable and stronger. Which community consists of more number of species, that community will be stable community. That means it does not show much variation. It means a stable community does not show a stable community. A stable community does not show much variation. Do not show. It should not show. Does not show too much variation with regard to productivity. productivity. Suppose, sorry, this is a family. This is a family of two earning members. Two earning members. And this is this is another family with 6 earning members. 6 earning members. Okay. Here the one individual, 2 members A and B. Here also 6 members A, B, C, D, E, F, E, F. Okay. And in family number 1, A is a manager. Here in family number 2, also A is a manager. Both of them lost their job. Both of them, both A lost their job. What happened to family number 1, and will it affect the family number 2? Family number 1 will be affected because only 2 earning members are there. One left his job or one lost his job. Here 6 earning members are there and one lost his job. Nothing will happen to this family, family number 2, in case of with regard to productivity. Like that, similar is the case for a stable community. A stable community does not show too much variation, there is no too much variation in productivity. And a stable community will always be resistant. It always be resistant to occasional, it is always resistant to any disturbances occurs in the environment, any environmental disturbances, because it is stable and strong. It is a stable community and strong. There is no too much, does not show too much variation, or they are resistant to various environmental disturbances. And it must be resistant to alien species invasion. It must be resistant to alien species invasion. Alien species invasion means what is meant by that alien species invasion? That is invasion or entering of some other organisms from another community. Entering of some other organism from some other community. So a stable community will be resistant to the environmental disturbances, as well as they can resist the alien species invasion to their community. Suppose in family number 1, a thief is coming. There is only 2 members. And imagine if they are old aged members. The thief can easily enter and attack them, no? But if the same thief is coming to a 6-member family, only one is aged, all the others are strong, so nothing will happen to this family. They can resist. That is how it has happened in case of a stable community. That is because of biodiversity. That is the importance of biodiversity. And if biodiversity is there, a community, the productivity of a community will always increases. Higher productivity. Higher will be the productivity. Higher is the productivity of that community. Higher productivity is there. Okay, so these are some important points, importance of biodiversity for an ecosystem or for a community. Okay, my dear students, and now we can move on to, there is a term, maybe a term is there in your textbook, Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich is a scientist. Through his rivet Rivet-Popper hypothesis. Rivet-Popper hypothesis. The Paul Ehrlich is a scientist, is an ecologist. His hypothesis is Rivet-Popper hypothesis. He tried to explain the importance of biodiversity. He explained the importance of biodiversity. Biodiversity. Who? Paul Ehrlich explained the importance of biodiversity for the survival of species. Okay. Now we can see some causes and causes of the loss of biodiversity, or we will discuss about loss of biodiversity. Loss of biodiversity. The loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity can be lost by a variety of reasons because of overpopulation, population explosion may lead to destruction or loss of biodiversity. Urbanization, that is industrialization or development. Urbanization also lead to biodiversity loss. Industrialization may also lead to biodiversity loss. Deforestation leads to biodiversity. Overexploitation of natural resources. Overexploitation of natural resources. Overexploitation of natural resources may lead to biodiversity loss. So all these are different reasons for biodiversity loss. Causes of biodiversity loss. So we will study it in detail. Some causes of biodiversity loss. Biodiversity loss. This is very important for all the exams. It will be asking causes of biodiversity loss. First one is habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat loss and fragmentation. What do you mean by habitat loss? That is a main cause of extinction of organism. It is a main cause of extinction of species. Extinction means it is a destruction. Extinction. Okay, habitat loss. That is, if the organisms lose their living environment, or if the organism lose their habitat. If suppose if we are cutting a tree, so many birds are living in a tree. They are losing their habitat, their living environment, their home or their house. Okay, so that may lead to the extinction of species by destruction of their habitat. It is by the destruction of their habitat. For example, Amazon rainforest. That is actually the lungs of our planet. Amazon rainforest. It is the lungs of our planet. Now, recently, Amazon rainforest has destructed by fire. No, fire destruction occur there. So many species left there, lost their. So many species lost their life, lost their living environment, living habitat, their home. So many hazardous experiences has occurred in Amazon rainforest recently. I think it is about 6 or 7 months ago. So that is habitat loss. And what do you mean by fragments? When the large area, fragmentation means when the large land area or habitat If we are dividing or breaking this large land area into small fragments or pieces for human activities, what happens? The mammals and the birds requiring larger territories, and the certain animals, they may migrate to some other habitat. That may lead to destruction or population decline. That is a cause of that is one of the causes of biodiversity loss. If we are layering or dividing this, what happened with my pen, with my Photoshop here? Something has happened with my brush. Yes. So the fragmentation means if we are dividing or land mining, if we are dividing a land into different fragments for various purposes, what happened? The organisms which lives here and the organisms which lives here, uh, they will have to migrate to some other places, and if that place is not favorable to them, they will die, they cannot survive there. So that is a cause of biodiversity loss. That is also a cause of biodiversity loss. That is habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat loss and fragmentation. Now we can see because of over exploitation of natural resources, over exploitation of natural resources by human beings. Over exploitation is another cause. Over exploitation of natural resources by human beings also results in degradation and extinction of resources. This will result in the extinction and degradation. Extinction and degradation of resources. For example, shelters of some passenger pigeons and many fishes have been destructed, and because of over exploitation. If we are overly, if we are exploiting any natural resource, they will get reduced in their quantity. So that is over exploitation of natural resources. And next cause is alien species invasion. Alien species, invasion. That means if this is a community and this is some another community. Here this is community A and this is community B. Suppose here in community A, species are living very joyfully, and imagine a wild animal or some another species is coming to this community, and it will start eating all the small animals here. So the species community A will slowly, it will get destructed. That is alien or exotic species inversion. Species from outside. Unintentionally, if the species are coming into some another community, and the coming species are harmful to that particular community, that may also lead to biodiversity loss. Okay, that is alien species invasion. For example, water hyacinth, Eichhornia, as well as Lantana camara, the Sundari poo, Lantana camara, Kongini poo, as well as Eichhornia, water hyacinth. This will cause a huge environmental damage, and that is actually a threat to the native species. It is a very widely spreading plants, Lantana camara as well as Eichhornia, the water hyacinth. And some another examples from animals, for example, African catfish, Clarius. It's a banned fish now. If we are introducing this African catfish into a freshwater ecosystem, this African catfish will eat all the small fishes which is living in that ecosystem. So that is a threat. That is actually an alien species invasion. And one another cause of biodiversity loss is co-extinction. Co-extinction. That means, imagine if an organism A is living depending on organism B. Organism A can live depending on B only. This A will be living if B is there. And suppose if the organism B is died, what happened to A? Eventually, slowly, A will also will get died. That is co-extinction. That is, when a species become extinct, the plant and animal species associated with it, because A is associated with B. A is living depending on B, and something happened to B, the A will also suffer from that. That is because of association, co-extinction. If one is extincting, the depending organism will also extinct with this. That is co-extinction. Together, it will extinct. That is the associated species will also get extinct. That is all the parasites. Whatever is parasite. That is in case of human beings also, it is to a certain extent it is there. If we are depending on some other people so much, if we are dependent on some other people and something happen, if that people if I am depending on, imagine, suppose if I am depending on and some another individual, say C, and the C is moving from here to far away places, I will be depressed. Okay, that is it is like that, no. So that is in case of co-extinction. If any organism is associated with some another organism and something happened to that particular organism, the dependent organism or the parasite will also lose its life. That is the causes of biodiversity. And there are some methods to conserve biodiversity. What are the two methods? Methods of conservation of biodiversity. There are some methods of conservation of biodiversity. Habitat conservation, nature preservation is there. Nature preservation. Nature preservation is there. Then reducing the invasive species. Reducing invasive species, that is to prevent by preventing alien species invasion, and habitat restoration. Instead of destructing the habitat of any organisms, just try to restore it. That is one preservative method. Habitat restoration. Habitat restoration. Instead of deforestation, we can plant a tree, isn't it? And to reduce, we can reduce the automobile exhaust, automobile poisoning, by reducing the number of vehicles or so and so, to reduce the climatic changes. And using sustainable products. Using sustainable products. And we can say that, to be very specific, we can see some different methods of biodiversity conservation. What is actually biodiversity conservation? What do you mean by biodiversity conservation? It is a I will write it here, biodiversity conservation. We are going to finish this chapter. Conservation, biodiversity conservation means it is a protection and a management of biodiversity. It is a protection and a management of biodiversity. Protection and a management of biodiversity for sustainable development. And that is to preserve our biodiversity by two methods. One is in situ conservation. In situ conservation. Other one is ex situ conservation. In situ conservation and ex situ conservation. In this, what do you mean by in situ conservation? In situ conservation. It is very important to preserve our biodiversity, our nature. So in situ conservation of biodiversity is the conservation of species within within their natural habitat, within their natural habitat, to protect their natural habitat. By protecting the natural habitat of any organism, we can conserve biodiversity to a certain extent. In situ conservation, ecosystem as such is maintained and protected. The natural habitat is maintained as it is. Okay, that is in situ conservation. Conserving the nature or biodiversity or species within their natural habitat itself. It is a very cost-effective and convenient method. A large number of living organisms can be conserved simultaneously, like this. For example, national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. National parks. So, wildlife sanctuaries are there, no? Wildlife sanctuaries. Wildlife sanctuaries. So, by preserving this natural ecosystem or natural habitat, we are keeping or we are preserving the biodiversity or species richness itself. Okay. The human activities such as harvesting, cultivation, the collection of wood, everything should be get limited. Should be limited. Biosphere reserves are some other examples for this. Biosphere reserves. So all these are some biodiversity conservation method by in situ. And what is ex situ conservation? Ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation method. That is, it is a conservation of biodiversity. In ex situ conservation of biodiversity, it involves a breeding and breeding as well as breeding and maintenance. Breeding and maintenance of what? Breeding and maintenance of endangered species. If the species are getting endangered, or if the species, the life of any species is in threat, such species can be breeded or to be maintained in an artificial ecosystem. In an artificial ecosystem under human captivity, such as zoo, zoological park, zoo, nurseries. That is also a conservation method. Botanical garden, botanical garden. We all have garden in our house, but nobody do this thing. What for under a tree? We will not do a placard like this. Don't touch. That we can see only in botanical gardens. That is a conservative method, as well as gene banks for preserving the human or any animal genes, genome, as well as sperm and egg, male as well as female gamete. All these are in a under human captivity. Ex situ conservation has some following advantages. The some advantages of ex situ conservation are the animals are provided with a long time breeding activity, longer time breeding activity, longer time breeding activity. Okay, and the species are bred under human captivity. Species are the breeding or species are bred under human control or human captivity. Human captivity. And in ex situ conservation method, we can use various type of genetic engineering technology, genetic techniques, cloning, so and so, genetic techniques, genetic engineering techniques to preserve the endangered species. All those are to preserve the endangered species. So biodiversity conservation is very important for a balanced living, for a sustainable development in our environment. So we have to conserve our biodiversity by in situ, that is in its natural habitat itself, and ex situ, outside the natural habitat, under, that is under human captivity, under human control, or inside the lab, like that. So my dear students, that is the end of the chapter. You just read it, go through it. The full chapter, biodiversity and conservation, is over. And now I want to show you a video also. Let me screen share again. Let me share the screen. Yes, okay, dear students. So that is the end of the chapter. Hmm? So you read it peacefully. You break the chapter into different segments and read in your own pace. Okay. So thank you. See you in our next class. Bye.